this working? Yeah, it's working. All right, sweet. Let's jump right into it. Today we'll be covering top 5 mistakes players make that they don't even notice they're making. I'm going to be the first person to say I am writing this list down because I've made these mistakes. If you've made these mistakes before, that's fine. It's okay. We're here to fix that. We're here to acknowledge, hey, we've made mistakes. We should probably not make them. And if you disagree with any of these, or you do agree, leave a comment below. Number 1, sometimes we just don't listen. And I get it, especially if you're like streaming or you're doing something while you're playing the game. I get it. Sometimes it could be a little distracting, but your friends say something, you're playing the map, you're not listening, you hear crows, you disregard them. Hunt's a very audio-based game. If you're not listening, you're going to miss out on a ton of clues that are going to let you know, hey, there's a team hiding behind that wall. Or, hey, you're following someone. Or even worse, hey, someone's following you.
You know we're being followed.
So sometimes you just want to stop and listen. One of the things that I've really kind of added to my playstyle is just to stop. I'll just stop. My teammates can keep running and I'll just stop. Let the game kind of like quiet down, because sometimes you're running, your footsteps, there's, hives going off, and you get lost in the audio, and you just stop, just stop and listen. And you'd be surprised how many times I have just stopped and I've been like, I can hear like dogs in their cages going off, right, a compound away that I wouldn't have heard had I just kept going through those motions of run, get the clue, So I would say listen, stop and just take a moment, right? Number 2, communication. Now, this can go many ways, right? It could be communicating information to your teammates. It could be requesting information from your teammates, but overall, it's just not communicating enough, right? I normally always tell people that I play with, tell me something, even if you think it's like extra information, just tell me. The amount of times that I've been playing with teammates, and I myself, this is something that I have done. I've heard something. I followed number 1, right? I followed the listening, right? I was like, hey, I'm going to stop and listen. And I may have heard something, but I wasn't 100% sure I did. And I didn't trust myself enough to communicate that doubt to my teammates. And that ended up costing us a fight because they were there. But what I had originally trusted my ears, they were there, but I just never communicated that information. Something that I catch myself doing a lot. And I don't know why. I think it's because like my brain gets into like frozen mode. Is we're running, we're doing our thing. We haven't engaged a team just yet. Only I see someone. Someone just ran a corner or they're running down the road, right? And my mind goes into, you want to engage or you want to attack or you want to shoot, and you don't communicate that information to your teammates. You shoot, you engage, and now your teammates are completely lost because they're like, whoa, what is going on, right? And I get it. Sometimes you have to, right? Sometimes you see someone, they're looting a body, or they're, standing still because they went to get some coffee or something, and you have to take the shot. You take it, and then you let your teammates know. Again, all these mistakes, it just depends on what's happening, but these are, generally speaking, they're things that we should avoid doing, and that's just not communicating enough. Here, I have a little list of all the mistakes that I've made. I'm just kind of glancing through it. The communication tab could be filled with many different mistakes. That's just one example, but overall, be open to communicating with your teammates. If you happen to play with randos, I know a lot of people don't like to really talk to randoms when you're playing, and my recommendation is if you're a little shy, something that I have found that works for me is when you're in the starting soon screen, you're readying up, say hi. If you're standing, if the map's already loaded and you're, just all standing there, kind of like, loading up, you're doing all your things, just say hi. You'll get an idea of how your teammates are going to react. And 9 out of 10 times, I've usually either got a chat, so a text chat saying, good morning or good afternoon or hi, or they'll just speak up and say, hey, what's up? And I think that sets up a good foundation for communication. So as you're playing, you're not really playing against your teammates, because sometimes with randos, you just don't know what they're doing. And I get that. So communicating, if you already have your pre-built team, it's a lot easier because you know them. But if you're with randos, set it up for that. You know, just say, hey, what's up? Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. You know, sometimes they'll respond, and it makes the whole, you know, engagement easier. Step number 3, or mistake number 3, better said. I have these in tab. Plan goals, or not planning goals. You'll be playing with your teammates, and you're just running through the map, right?
What are you running around for? Stop running around.
Right. And how many times that happen where you're just like, you spawn at Scupper, you're figuring out, okay, do I want to go to Port Rico or do I go to Chapel, right? You're just kind of like winging it. And the problem is, if you didn't follow step number 1 or step number 2 and you're not really planning what you're doing, you may not have heard the crows and the fight that's going on, maybe not at Port, but a little farther down. And you're thinking to yourself, you could either want to push that or you could want to avoid that, depending on what you want to do. You have to plan how you want that engagement to go. You can use that communication, use that first and 2, you have that listening and communicating to your advantage, and plan. The planning is something that I feel like we just don't really discuss. You kind of just roll with emotions. And I feel like that's such a very important, like, it's a mistake not to do it. The 4th mistake is I see not enough moving. And this happens to me all the time. You're at a compound. You might be the team that's pushing up. You see your target. You see the team. They're moving around the compound. Take a few shots and there's an engagement, but you stay there. The team that's in the compound is stuck. They're the ones that they can't move. And even if they could move, they know where you're at. They know you're there. If you keep moving and you don't stay still, reposition yourself constantly, you're keeping them thinking. Whenever I come up across a team that has the bounty, the first thing I'm thinking about is how can I burn those seconds up. You are pushing a compound that has dark sight and you move and they dark sight, they've reset that information. You now have to keep moving to change that information. The knowledge of where you are at in Hunt Showdown is extremely important, because it is that's the information that lets you figure out, okay, if I know where they're at and they don't know where I'm at, you are already at an advantage in that fight. Always move. And again, this is something that if you watch me play, you're going to be like, hey, why doesn't Rhodes follow his own advice? And these are literally me telling you things that I have done that I've looked back on and I've been like, I should have kept moving. I should have just moved. This goes in line with a whole bunch of like minute details, like don't re-peek, keep moving. Don't re-peek the same corner, you're gonna die. Re-peeking is an easy way to get your head blown off, especially if we both know when you're playing the re-peek game that one person has an advantage over the other. They might have a darker background over their hunter, so it might be a little harder for you to see them, or vice versa, but you still re-peek because you know you're gonna get that shot. You know you're gonna get it, right? And you don't, and then you die, and then you're telling your teammate, oh, I shouldn't have repeat.
Why are you like this?
Make sure to subscribe and like the video. And if you have any other mistakes that you have caught yourself making, leave them in the comments below. I'm really excited to make a part 2 and just kind of like add like this large series of videos with all the mistakes we've done, because we can make a ton of mistakes.
We made so many mistakes.
Hunt Showdown is just you going into a fight, making a mistake, dying, and then doing what I'm going to bring up. Now, debriefing is kind of like something that I do. I know that might be kind of weird. If it's weird, let me know, like it's fun. Just kind of like setting yourself back after you've lost a fight or even won a fight, but you don't know how you won the fight.
Did we make it?
We've had those before, right? Where you win and you're like, I don't know how I survived that. Debrief. Come back. Maybe after the match is over, go check, who was in the match, how many teams were, how many teams you engaged, who died, who won, and all that stuff. And then just kind of stop and think, how did this happen? How did I lose? What could I have done better? Hindsight's 2020. You're always going to find some sort of excuse, and that's fine. But the idea is to look at that mistake that you made and say, hey, you know what? Probably shouldn't have repeat. I probably should not have run into that water, right? Because the other team was following step 1. They were listening and they heard me, and I ran through that water trying to get to the compound as fast as I can, and they heard the water gushing, which could be very loud, and they caught me, and that was my mistake. Or maybe you went for a revive that you probably shouldn't have. It might have been a spicy revive. And maybe even if you did get it, the factors were so weird that you were able to get it. But you know that if you had done that revive during a normal situation, you probably would have died doing it, or you would have gotten your teammate killed again, right? Stuff like that. Debrief. Just think about it. And I honestly, I think debriefing and communicating is really important. So I would say debrief with your team. This is not, at the end of the day, it's a video game, right? But if you want to get better, your best bet is to just go and talk to your teammates and be like, hey, what could we have done better? What did we do that led to us losing, or maybe it led to us, maybe the bounty got away, right? Why the bounty? How did they get away? And the debriefing or not debriefing is a big mistake. I think that kind of just going back and just understanding what went wrong will make you a better hunt player, period. That's pretty much it. I think that this is enough self-roasting possible, because this, like I said, is literally the mistakes that I've made. And I'm just listing them out in this video. If you've made this mistake, drop it down in the comments. Let me know, hey, you know what? I've made these mistakes before, trying to get better, and we're all the better for it. And again, if you have any recommendations, any other mistakes that you've made that I did not list today, drop them there. Let me know. I'll be in the comments below. Guys, as always, you'll catch me live on Twitch Tuesdays and Thursdays, 10 a.m. Eastern time. We'll be playing Hunt Showdown. And I appreciate you guys being here. Thank you for saying. Appreciate it. Bye.